What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where every single week I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network as well as on the E Network. Talking today, Total Divas Season 8, Episode 7, I believe, or no, Episode 8. Season 8, Episode 8 this season is just fucking flying by, entitled Hate is a Strong Word. So a big portion of the episode, it's one of those shows where like all the girls go to the same place, which makes it a lot easier for me to review because it's really just a play-by-play of what happened when they were there. There is one small side story with Trinity, aka Naomi. She's not going to Lake Tahoe. She says she got a family conflict. So all the girls, that includes the Bellas, Lana, Paige, Nia Jax, Natty, I think that's everyone else. Trinity's the only one that can't go. Because of a family conflict, she says. So they all go to Lake Tahoe except for Trinity. So I'll talk about her real quick because her story isn't nearly as long because she has a very quick side story here that's not really focused on, with the exception of like the beginning of the episode and then at the very end of the episode. So if you're hoping for more Trinity here on the show, this episode might not be the one for you, but she is featured at least, which is good. So anyway, because she wasn't even at the last, I don't even think she was at the last getaway that they went to. Pretty sure. When all that like BS ensued and Paige or Nikki was flirting with the fucking bartender, even though she wasn't, all that other shit. That was only a few short episodes ago. I don't think Trinity was there either. So anyway, she says that she can't go. She's got a family conflict. So she goes out for a girls' night instead with Tamina and Dasha Fuentes. I had no idea Trinity and Dasha Fuentes were so tight, but apparently they are. That's a very interesting friend group. I know Tamina and Naomi are friends, dating back to their Team Bad days. I didn't know Dasha was in that too. So anyway, she talks about how she doesn't really get the alone time that she wants anymore with Jimmy Uso, her husband. In that she doesn't really like Pensacola, Florida. We've talked about this before on Total Divas, not this season, but you know, they talked about how, or Trinity talked about how there's really not much to do there. She gets bored real easily, and the only real reason they're there is because John's like kids from his first marriage or whatever. I guess, you know, they still live there, so it makes it easier for them to go visit them and take care of them and all this other stuff. Which is, I guess, makes sense, but it's not really the best place for Trinity, because at this point, she's like, John and I have been together for like 10 years, or however many years at this point. They're like in their 30s, I think. They said they met up when they were 21 and 23, respectively. So at this point in their lives, she wants more stability and be able to go places where she can have fun, and she doesn't really have that in Pensacola. But she seems like the type of person that she just wants to go out there and party. In Atlanta, where her family's from. So if she's saying that she wants to be closer to her family, I understand that. But she's also making it sound like she just wants to go there to party, which is weird. And I don't blame Jimmy Uso, for reacting the way that he did at the end of this episode. So anyway, she talks about how she realized how it was harder than she thought to be away from her family and living in Pensacola when they were living in Atlanta. So she visits her Uncle Buck at a club. I think it's like her gay Uncle Buck or whatever it is. And she talks to him. She talks to him about what's going on, how she's feeling, and how she wants to be closer to her family, and she enjoys seeing him and all this other stuff. But she talks about how, John has his routine and how he won't really break away from that routine to do something for her in terms of moving to Atlanta. And it's something that's been on her mind for so long now that she needs to bring up to John. So despite not talking to John about this yet, she looks at apartments anyway in Atlanta, thinking like what it might be like, which she didn't buy anything, but still, to kind of look at apartments without her husband, without even telling her husband, is kind of shitty. So she does that, and then she brings it up to him at SmackDown soon after, and he immediately dismisses the idea. He's like, you don't appreciate it, you bury Pensacola, I'm there with my family, what's there to do in Atlanta, you just want to go there to be away from me and escape me and all this other stuff. So they had this fight, and I'm sure we'll get the fallout on the next episode, but there really wasn't much there. Like I said, Trinity's story here was not really focused on much at all. Earlier on in the episode and then at the end of the episode. That was the cliffhanger for the next show, to see how they all kind of reconcile their differences and kind of get back together and get back on the same page and how this issue will be solved. So more on that in another episode. The main story from this show was, like I said, the girls going to Lake Tahoe to escape everything, according to the Bellas. The Bellas talked about how they started going there with their grandparents, and it's a different feel from going to like Miami. It has more of a camp feel, more of a family feel. So when they get there, I think the Bellas get there first with maybe Natty, I think. I think it's Nikki, Brie, and Natty, and then Paige, Lana, and Nia come later together. The Bellas want to prank Lana into thinking that she is the worst room again, because apparently every time they go anywhere, she says that she is the quote-unquote worst room. So there was a room in the bottom, like it's like the family room of this lodge that they're in Lake Tahoe that has like a pull-out bed and then like a giant-ass drum in the room. And obviously they know that Lana's going to hate it, but they want to play a prank on her with her thinking that that's where she's going to sleep, even though that's not the case. So anyway, before we get to the continuation of that story, Paige discusses how there was a fan incident, which I remember reading about. She was like in her car or something, ready to get picked up. And she was there, and a fan came up to her, like, tried to touch her face, like, not punch her, but, like, I guess punch her, and then called her fat. So she was basically bullied, and that made her really, really upset, which has been a common theme with Paige, dating back to the beginning of the season where, you know, she talked to the Bellas about it and how they deal with hate and all this other stuff, and how Paige has gotten a lot of that stuff since coming back from her injury, where people are calling her fat, and they're bringing up the porn stuff and whatever else. So anyway, back to the Lana thing. So they tell Lana what room she's going to be in, even though that's not her real room. They were just playing the prank on her. Lana does not like being told what room to stay in. So before they can even tell her what room she's going to be in, maybe they did tell her and she didn't even like where she was going to be placed anyway. So she goes upstairs and says, I'm taking this room. Paige and Nia, get out. I know Paige and Nia want a room together, but I want this room for myself. I never get first dibs. I want this room. So Lana and Paige go off on each other. Paige calls her a bitch. She calls her a brat. Lana just breaks out in tears. It's a whole fucking mess. She FaceTimes Rusev about it and tells him the whole story. And Rusev, with the line of the episode, the guys on the episode have more common sense than any other woman on the show. Rusev goes, why are you still there? Why don't you just leave? Rusev with the common sense of the show. Rusev Day. Happy Rusev Day, everyone. What great advice. I agree with that. Why don't you just fucking leave? So she says that she's about to leave. She storms out. She's like, I'm leaving, everyone. And then Paige comes in. They start arguing again, just going back and forth. And Paige brings up a tweet from 2015 where I faintly remember this. Lana said something about Paige where Lana goes like, I hope Charlotte beats you at Survivor Series. Because you're disrespectful. And she said it in character because Paige was a bad guy at the time, but Lana also said that because she was fucking disrespectful, I guess, towards Lana in NXT. She was very disrespectful, that she felt that she was talking down to her and that she was bullying her and all this other stuff, and she was really annoyed at it, so she kind of incorporated reality into her character, and Paige did not appreciate that, and Paige is like, I've never really talked to you at all in NXT. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So they argue over that, and Paige is like, she's like, I'm done being treated like shit. I'm done with this stuff. Lana's like, oh, I'm a doormat. And then Paige is like, dude, I've been a doormat for a fucking year and a half. Shut the fuck up. So Paige calls her boyfriend, who says, again, another great common sense line here. He goes, why are you guys arguing over a bed? Why? That's so stupid. So that kind of puts her in her place. She talks to Lana about it. They make up. They play a prank on the other girls where they're like, oh, let's pretend we're still on bad terms, where Lana like throws a cup of water in Paige's face, which was shown in the preview for the fucking show, and I thought it was real. Fuck you, Total Divas. Fuck you, E! Network. Like, they do this shit, like with the Nikki Bella where she was flirting with the bartender, they make it up to be something way bigger than it is, thinking that they have problems. Lana and Paige did have problems earlier on in the episodes, so it wasn't false advertising, but at the same time, it was more a case of, you know, it wasn't actually what it seemed. In that case, it was where Paige and Lana were playing a prank on the other girls by pretending they still had bad blood, even though that wasn't the case. So, yeah, she threw water on her, but it was all tongue-in-cheek. It was all done on purpose to make the other girls think they still had problems, which it was all revealed that they didn't. They got over it, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, Nikki wants everyone to remember this trip forever, and she gets everyone gifts and all these goodie bags and all this other dumb shit. Natty takes Bree's phone. Shenanigans ensue. Everyone's crazy. They bombard Natty in a room with all the furniture up against the door. It's crazy. Paige gets her phone back. She talks about wanting to give her boyfriend a fucking nip slip on FaceTime or some other weird-ass shit. I don't know where the hell that came from or why she would say that on camera, but she did. So that was interesting. Bella's also talk about wanting to have Paige and Lana. They want to have them leave Lake Tahoe liking each other. Not only tolerating each other, but liking each other. That's their goal here. So then, to close out the episode, Paige, while everyone else is away, she FaceTimes her family who are over in England. She misses them a lot. She breaks down crying, not only because she misses them, but because she vents about how fans call her fat. And then her mom gives her a lot of great advice about how everyone has an opinion nowadays. You can't listen to them. They're just going to be mean for the sake of being mean. Fuck them. She didn't say fuck them, but basically she does. Don't listen to them. You're a beautiful baby girl, all this other stuff. Paige, she cries because she feels bad about being called fat by these fans, but also because she misses her family. And that's the note we end on with this edition of Total Divas at Lake Tahoe. So I believe we get the continuation of the Lake Tahoe stuff. So don't think, oh, are Paige and Lana best friends now? We won't never find out. Like we will in the next episode, episode 9 of Total Divas Season 8, coming up next week on the E Network. So as for this episode, guys, be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, subscribe to the channel for more content. I will be back early next week with whatever airs on the network. It might be a ride-along, Table for 3, whatever it might be. We'll be reviewing it right here on Network and Chill. And if nothing, stay tuned for my next review of Total Divas coming up right here on the channel next week, next Saturday probably on the channel. So until then, guys, have an awesome rest of your weekend. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.